Hey fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the Bitcoin miners, but we're also going to talk about Bitcoin and the upcoming mega earnings that we're going to have this next week. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so I'm going to start with Bitcoin, then I'm going to go into earnings, then we'll go into the miners afterwards. All right, so Bitcoin has broken out with at least almost 2 weeks now of confirmed bullishness above this cup and handle, falling wedge, bull flag, whatever you want to call it. It's all they're all bullish patterns. It doesn't really matter. Every single pattern that we could look at on this chart in this area right here is all bullish. So it should all end ultimately the same way, which is up. So in this case, we have a pennant pattern within the bull flag. You can see the pennant pattern clearly broke out. The target for that would be basically right around where that line is drawn. So about 77,000. Of course, if I were to actually measure this, and again, this is not a video about Bitcoin, but I did just want to show you guys the different measurements here. So if we go with the bull flag, again, you have to have your flag pull here, and then it goes from you measure it, the flag, move it over to the breakout point, and then the target should be right at the top. So with the bull flag, it'd be about 101,000. And with the cup and handle, again, I didn't measure this exactly right. Sorry about that, y'all. So this would actually be the measurement of the cup and handle right here. Again, you measure the bottom of the cup, the very lowest candle, all the way up to the top of the neckline. And then once again, you would move this to right around the breakout point, and that would get your measured move. So roughly about $120,000 Bitcoin, which again is almost double the current price. In my opinion, I think it's going to be somewhere between $140,000 to $220,000 on this cycle. I don't think that's unreasonable to expect, but part of the reason why I could see a little bit of resistance here is because of this kind of long-term peak-to-peak resistance, which by about November of 2025 would be at about 130,000. So something to keep in mind. So the other thing I wanted to point out here is, besides the breakout of the bullish pattern that we have here, no matter what pattern you choose to use, there's like 4 different patterns that you could see on this chart. You have a descending channel, which is bullish, cup and handle, which is bullish. You have a bull flag, which is bullish, and then you also have a broadening falling wedge. If I were to measure these out by the wicks instead of the candles, every single one of those patterns are bullish. There's another thing I wanted to point out here that you guys may not have seen. Okay, so if I go back here to the bear market lows, so I want to point this out. When the histogram turned from red to green, at the end of the bear market lows, the bottom for Bitcoin was already in, okay? So went red to green, the bottom was in. The thing I want to point out to you guys is this did not turn from green to red for a long time after that, okay? So from August to May or April, somewhere in there, roughly about 8 months, this thing was green. So you had kind of a little bit of fake out here as it was going sideways after a slow move up. I refer to this as a markup phase. It's kind of a little markup phase here. Slowly moved up, marked up, and then ripped afterwards. Bitcoin's notorious for doing that when it comes off absolute lows. It'll have some kind of markup phase, either multiple markups or a single markup, and then it will eventually rip to the upside. It goes back to the analogy that I like to use with you guys of slowly, gradually, and then suddenly, in terms of how much the speed of the bull market picks up as it goes through time. So you can see the histogram was green here. Then we kind of had a slight fake out as it was going sideways, but ignoring this part right here, going from the red back to the green, this was when we had this explosive breakout between October of 2023 to April of 2024. Bitcoin pretty much just went straight up, okay? So we've had this long extended red period here between May and October. So basically about, we'll call it a good 5 to 6 months of red on the histogram. And again, we haven't done a Bitcoin video in a little bit, but I did want to show you guys we did finally have the golden cross here. Again, we do have 2 bars on the histogram that are green. So in my opinion, based on looking at all this, I think Bitcoin is going to be ramping up for probably the next 3 to 6 months. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if it went on a little bit longer than that before eventually maybe having a mid-cycle correction, then going back up to the all-time highs. But in my opinion, I think this was actually the mid-cycle correction, and likely Bitcoin is just going to go up for the next 14 months, but we'll see. So last time we got the golden cross was back here, almost exactly the same time frame last year. And what did Bitcoin do? It took off to the moon. We've already gone over this. So it's looking good. I mean, it's looking like we're about ready to enter the bull market for crypto. Okay, so let's talk about earnings. Now, next week, in my opinion, is going to be the thing. It's going to be the earnings week. Plus, of course, we have elections coming up. We pretty much know at this point that Trump is likely going to be the winner. Okay, I mean, you got the betting markets betting on it. You have the popular vote is almost swinging in Trump's favor. The Electoral College has over 300 electoral votes set in place for Trump. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pretty confident that's what's going to turn out to be true here. So I'll just put it like this. Usually the markets would have a lot of uncertainty going into the election because they're not certain who's going to win, but the markets are anticipating a Trump victory at this point. So the fact that seems to be more certain has already created the presidential election, converted it from a headwind to a tailwind already, even though the elections haven't taken place. Now, earnings. This week, in my opinion, is going to be the week that kicks off the stock market and the crypto markets to new all-time highs. Why do I say this? Because we have big tech earnings, okay? The biggest of the big. Okay, we've already had Netflix and Tesla, we know that, but we're getting the rest of these companies coming out this week. So we got Google, and of course, other big companies. We also have semis as well. Keep that in mind. So Visa, AMD, McDonald's, HSBC, Pfizer, Stryker, Chubb. I mean, you got some dividend growth companies in there. Anheuser-Busch, American Tower, PayPal, Chipotle Mexican Grill, Ecolab, on and on and on and on, right? Then you got another, of course, oil company down here. And then going into Wednesday, more big tech. So we got Microsoft, Meta. I'm pretty sure those are going to beat. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it says consensus EPS forecast. This is forward estimates, by the way, over basically year over year is what we're looking at. They're anticipating a beat year over year on both Google, Visa, AMD. You see most of these big companies are expecting actually beats on these big companies year over year. Same thing with Microsoft, Meta. Then of course you have some others that may beat, like Amgen, ADP. Again, I've told you guys before, it's the culmination of all the earnings and how much of an earnings beat we get over all that matters, not necessarily so much the individual companies. Okay, it's the entire market as a whole. If we get like a 60 to 70% beat, then we're good. Okay, market is strong, economy strong, all that stuff. In terms of the companies themselves, the ones that matter the most, in my opinion, are going to be the big tech, because they're the ones that have the most financial power in the economy. So Thursday, we got more big tech, Apple, Amazon. Once again, they're expecting outperformance here year over year. Then you got a whole ton of others, MasterCard, Lynda, Shell, Comcast, Uber, all kinds of companies. So 200 earnings on that day. And then Friday is, well, not as many earnings. You have Berkshire Hathaway, but I don't really care about them. ExxonMobil. So you got your oil companies, basically. Yeah, so November 1st. I'm pretty sure, I thought these were supposed to be this last week. I don't really know. Well, I must have them maybe confused with last week, but I'm pretty sure these were supposed to be last week. But whatever the case, you got your oil companies next week and some others as well. So this week likely is going to kick us off into the bull market. That is my thinking. So let's get into the miners now. All right, so here's kind of what I think is going to happen. When Bitcoin is ripping to new all-time highs, which I think is going to start happening this next week, if not the following week after the elections, it could ramp up into those points. The miners, in my opinion, are going to be ramping up with it, okay? So again, we're about to get that golden cross on the MACD. What we want to see is follow through for weeks and weeks and weeks. Ideally, that would be the best case scenario. So tomorrow we've had a push over the EMAs here. That's all good and great. Again, when the price is above the EMAs, that's a very bullish sign. Okay. Plus we had a break of the head and shoulders. Or inverse head and shoulders, I should say, which is a bullish pattern. That's very bullish. And we are currently retesting, and we should theoretically launch from this neckline. So as of right now, I'd say a buy zone on Mara is going to be anywhere between 16 to 20 bucks. And then you got that 29 to about 33 up there at the top. This thing, you can see it's within a big, fat, rising microphone pattern. So this thing could likely top out, if Bitcoin and the miners are going to top out somewhere between January to March of next year, this thing could top out somewhere between like 53 to maybe about $60, I would say, at the absolute peak. So it could have potentially as much as a 3x. Again, understand the risks involved with these miners. They're very volatile. They're not stocks. Well, I mean, technically they are stocks, but they're not like traditional companies. They're Bitcoin miners, okay? They're very volatile. They will move with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes up, they'll likely go up. And if Bitcoin goes down, then they'll likely go down. So I just want to let you know about that so you understand the risks. So maximum measured move here about 114%. Again, if we get above this resistance, you guys got your targets up there. So Riot, in my opinion, both Riot and Mara are very good buying opportunities right now. Not financial advice, but I'm just telling you guys, as somebody who has position traded, I can tell you guys right now, if I was going to load the boat on a position right now and just throw like a stupid amount of money into something right now, I would probably get in right about these prices. You guys are free to do what you want to, of course. So, okay, get this thing to stop moving for a second. There we go. Okay, so support here is 640 to about 930. Again, we're kind of sitting at the top of that support. 1870 to $21 resistance up there. Just measuring from the current price to that swing high, about 129% gain. And again, the all-time high for Riot last cycle was $80, and for Mara was, of course, it was about $80 as well. And you can see we also had a very large kind of rising, broadening microphone pattern there as well, like we do this cycle. Okay, so going over HUD 8, this one's a little bit more explosive. It does have a golden cross here. That's good. But this thing has already taken off. If I was going to buy, I would have wanted to buy it down here somewhere, accumulate, and then kind of just let it rip. But to each their own. So support down here, about $4 to, I'd say about $9. And then you got 1730 to about 23. And then this upper zone here at roughly about 28 to 33. This one, personally, I'd be waiting for a pullback. I mean, there's plenty of other opportunities in the market. There's no reason to FOMO. Of course, everybody has their reasons for wanting to do stuff. So if I were to measure from where I think likely the bottom is at about 8.5 to that target up there is a 174% move. But if it goes beyond that, which it could easily do, then you'd be looking at about 260% gain on this. And the all-time high for this one last cycle was also about $80. For Cypher, it was about 15, a little bit over 15 on that one. Cypher has been rocketing like a rocket ship, like one of Elon Musk's rocket ships, just blasting off through space. I don't know if you guys saw that thing where Elon has the last rocket that they launched has like this arm that caught the rocket. It was like the coolest thing I've ever seen. I mean, that's impressive because, those rockets are probably like crazy expensive. They're probably like hundreds of millions of dollars or at least millions of dollars a piece. So if you could save one by not blowing it up and just catching it midair, that's not only is it a cost saver, but it's pretty cool too. So Cypher, this one's at resistance. Personally, I wouldn't touch it. I'd either be waiting for a pullback to buy at spot, or I'd be maybe doing a cash secured put. So support down here, $2 to about 270. The resistance, which is currently at roughly about 5 to 5.5, and then of course you have 8 above head, and then you have kind of your upper level there at $9 to $10. So a pullback into the lows would give you a measured move of about 110 to 200%, 275% respectively. One other thing that you could do is you could do like ultra safe cash secured puts with low delta of like a 15 or a 20. The premium's not going to be as good, but it's a safe bet. There's a good chance you probably wouldn't get assigned. But even if you did get assigned, again, a 15-20 delta basically means you have about a 15 to a 20% chance out of all the trades you take of actually getting assigned. There's a pretty good chance that even if you did get assigned, it wouldn't really go a whole lot lower than basically what your strike price was. It's a good way to mitigate risk. So BTBT, same thing as Cypher. Personally, I wouldn't touch it because it's already taken off. So $1.60 to $2 at support, $4.25 to about $4.90 at resistance. Full measured move here, roughly about 200% gain. I do want to say, however, if you're hodling BT, you're not necessarily looking to profit in between before it takes off. You just want to sit back and kind of chill and wait for your positions to do 10, 20x. The previous all-time high for this was about a 10x the current price at $33. Okay, BITF, this one's getting to the apex of this coiling move. It's either going to go up or down, and if the miners are going to go up with Bitcoin, I would say likely it's going to be going up. So support here between 2 to 230, resistance $3 to about 360, and then you got 390 up there at the swing high. I would say this one's a steal right now. Personally, I'd be looking to get this one if we didn't already have some miners. So about 94% to 110. And then you can see the all-time high is up there at $10. So you'd be looking at, let me remeasure this. This is, roughly about $10. So you'd be looking at least a 5x. If it goes to new all-time highs, it'd obviously be more than that. All right, IREN, this thing is not quite as cheap as BITF, but it's not expensive either, in my opinion. Maybe consider doing a cash secured put for maybe like an anticipation of a pullback before eventually crypto rockets. But again, in my opinion, the window to accumulate is closing because I think the bull run's about to begin. So 630 to 775 is support. You got 1350 to about $18 up there at that kind of swing high to the resistance high up there. 193% gain on this one. And again, I have not taken a look at the options market on IREN, so I don't know a whole lot about this. You guys can let me know about that. So 2850 is the all-time high up there, so about 3x. Of course, it could do much more than that. We all know that anything in crypto that explodes to the upside tends to kind of outperform people's expectations, wildest expectations in some cases, like 1,000, 10,000 X's, stupid levels of gains. Okay, so CLSK, nice big fat green candle with a slight pullback into the EMAs. Again, that's normal. I expect CLSK is probably going to continue to go up from here. Again, just take a look at the EMAs, okay? You can see here, this is exactly what the EMAs are designed to do. They're designed to serve as a retracement tool for the price to eventually return back to the EMAs, okay? It's a median, is essentially what it is. It's mean reversion. So eventually when this thing gets overextended one direction or another, it eventually has to come back to the EMAs. So in my opinion, this is basically just it getting ready to launch to the upside, but we shall see. All right. So my buy area is kind of roughly about that $9 to $14. Resistance up here at 21 to about 2360. And then not sure what this is, but we have about 36 to 42. Again, we kind of have this broadening microphone pattern similar to Mara. So if I'm looking out in time here, I would say if this thing is going to top out, kind of at the top of this microphone here, then we would be looking at roughly about 55, maybe to as high as, if I'm being generous and this thing goes all the way up to March, maybe as high as maybe around 65, maybe $70. So some pretty decent upside there. So about 114% and could go as high as 288%, even more than that possibly. So keep in mind, y'all, you guys can do options on this, okay? Cash secured puts and cover calls if you want to create passive income if that's your thing, because some people are not in crypto to get the 20, 30x gains. They don't care about that because it's not paying passive income. Some people want to invest for dividend paying stocks and options. For people that don't care about the dividends and options or would rather use the capital appreciation to eventually roll into that like we're going to do, native crypto, the Grayscale trusts, and the miners, in my opinion, might be your best bet. And then if you're looking for passive income, the miners could also serve as a source of passive income. You have things like MSTU, CONL, MicroStrategy, Coinbase. You can do options on those. Those also provide price appreciation as they go up with the bull run. You could also do dividend paying ETFs like Maxi, BITO. You could do BITX. You could do MSTY, CONY. Although there is some concern about NAV erosion with that. You also have YBIT. You have some. There's probably some other newer ones on the market that I don't know about. So those are some options to think about. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.